going to use a database called Cinahl for my search. Cinahl is the cumulative index to nursing and allied health literature. QMU subscribes to this particular database via EBSCOhost. EBSCO is the supplier and Cinahl is the database. To find all of our subscription databases, you go to the library web pages, go down to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen to Library Resources. Here you can either go to your individual subject resource page, or you can go to the overall Databases A to Z page, which shows you every database that we have. If I click on the tab C for Cinahl, click on the option for Cinahl. Now, depending on whether you're using remote access or not, you may be required to sign in separately to Cinahl. I've already signed in using Shibboleth. Shibboleth is another method of accessing our subscription resources. You'll see that the search screen is set up so you can start to enter your keywords or phrases. The first phrase that I'm going to search for is range of motion. When you're searching for any phrase that is more than one word, it's useful, and I would say it's probably best practice, to put the phrase into quotation marks. This forces the database to search for the words range of motion immediately together rather than randomly throughout the article, and it gives your search more specificity. If I click on search now, we can see how many results we get. Now, searching just Cinahl, you can see we've got 27,346 results. But as we've been emphasising in our Constructing Your Search Strategy sessions, you really need to think carefully about your search. Range of motion is quite a general search and is returning too many results. So we need to think about the other phrase or phrases that we want to use within this search. So perhaps I want to search for range of motion within a particular part of the body, let's say the ankle. So I'm now going to search separately for ankle. As you can see in the search history box on the screen here, we've now got two separate searches, search 1 and search 2, ankle and range of motion. Now these are two separate searches. What we need to do now is join them together using one of our Boolean operators. Can you see this word here? It says Boolean. A Boolean operator is simply a word which you use to join two separate searches together. The main Boolean operators are and, or, and not. In the search history box, I can select these two searches, ankle, range of motion, and I can join them together with and. Joining them together with and means that the database will only return articles which have both range of motion and ankle within them. If the article only has the word ankle in it, it won't be returned. It has to have both ankle and range of motion. Let's join them together with and see what happens. You can see now in the search history box we have far fewer. We only have 3,130 articles. So we've joined together the ankle search and the range of motion search. You can use the or operator between synonyms or words that have a similar meaning to try and broaden your search. If you think about it, the search range of motion or movement and ankle increases the number of search results. So let's see how we would do that. So instead of searching for just range of motion, let's join it together in the search box up here with range of motion or movement. You can see in your search history box that that search has greatly increased the range of motion search from 27,000 up to 84. We still haven't combined it with the ankle search down here, but if we do that, just by selecting those particular searches and now join those, the new range of motion search with ankle, you can see the difference that it makes. In search number 5, which now has 4,000 in it, compared with search number 3, where we only combined ankle and range of motion, and we got 3,000 in that particular search. Now, obviously, this is still far too many results, but doing it this way, you can see how just adding in one extra term or synonym can greatly increase your search. We can now use some of the other filters or limiters in the database to narrow it down and make the search more specific to what we're looking for. Other ways that you can search, well, we've been searching here under keywords. We like to call it free text searching, where you are thinking up the words or the phrases to search under. But if you think about it, the words that you think up are very particular to you, to your the language that you speak, to your geographical upbringing, perhaps even to your age. So how do you get around this? How do you find all of the different words and phrases and perhaps even abbreviations or acronyms that mean range of motion or perhaps movement? Well, one way to do that is use what we call subject headings. And if we go up to the top again and have a look at the top toolbar in Cinahl, you'll see here we've got an option for Cinahl Headings. Now, this is what we call a controlled vocabulary or a thesaurus. You might have heard of things like mesh headings. Those are particular to Medline. PsycInfo, another popular allied health database and psychology database, has its own headings called thesaurus. In Cinahl, they're called Cinahl Headings. Let's try having a browse through the Cinahl headings for the terms that we've been searching under. So if I click on Cinahl Headings, it takes me out of the existing search. And I'm now searching not the articles, but I'm searching Cinahl Headings. We normally recommend that you choose the option to search for relevancy ranked. So the first thing I'm going to look for is range of motion. Let's have a look for that. We're now taken into what we call the subject tree. And you can see up at the top we have an option for range of motion, but we have some other range of motion options and some other suggestions from the database as well. If you're unsure about any of these options and what they might mean, scroll across and have a look at the scope note. The scope note will give you a small description of how that term is used within the database, so you can see if it's using it in the same context that you're looking for. So if we decide that range of motion is one that we want to use, we can click on that to select it. You can see at the side, it's asking me, do I want to include any subheadings for range of motion? For example, am I only looking at psychosocial factors? Am I looking at education, ethical issues? If I'm not concerned about narrowing it down too much at the moment to one particular area, we'll just leave it to include all subheadings. We also get the option to include it as a major concept. Can you see that here? And you also get the option to do that in this box on the left-hand side. Now, this is a judgment choice that you make. If you want greater specificity, then you might want to choose to narrow it down to major concept. And that will only bring back articles where range of motion is the primary focus of the article. Okay? And again, that's something you might want to decide for yourself. I normally leave this until I see how many results I get back. If I click on Search Database, Cinahl will now do a search for that particular term. But can you see in our search history box, it now says MH, range of motion. So that searched for it as a mesh heading. Now this means that it could return articles that perhaps don't actually even include the phrase range of motion. But they will be about that concept. They might use other words or phrases, but they will be about the concept of range of motion. So if you can see in the results section here, we've found 22,000. If we look down at search number 1, where we searched for the free text keyword range of motion, we found 27 results. This means that the subject heading search has excluded roughly 5,000 results that it didn't consider were about range of motion in the sense that we were talking about it. Let's go back up to the Cinahl headings, and now let's search for the ankle concept. Here we have the option again to click ankle, or we could look at ankle injuries. Sometimes using the subject headings is a good way of sparking ideas in your mind as to perhaps exactly what you're looking for. So we're going to search for ankle as a mesh heading, as we did before. And you can see that when we search for ankle as a subject heading, it finds 4,396. But here, when we searched for it as just a free text word, it found 24,000. That's quite a drop in the number of results that we found. So we're getting greater specificity here. So now let's try combining the mesh heading for ankle and the heading for range of motion as well. Can you see how we're using the search history box here? Here we're building up, and it's almost a trail of the searches that we've done. And in here we can mix and match the different terms and terminology that we've searched under, and this will help us craft our search into the most appropriate one for our particular topic. So let's have a look and see what happens when we join the two subject heading searches together. Here you can see we've now got 569. And the good thing about doing subject heading searches is you have more confidence that the articles returned are exactly about what you're looking for. If you think about free text searching, when we did search number 2 on uncle, we weren't actually telling the database to look for uncle. We were telling it to look for A followed by N followed by K followed by L followed by E. And that's quite different from telling the database to search for uncle as a heading. We checked the scope note. We made sure that ankle and range of motion referred to the concepts that we were exactly speaking about, and that's what the database has searched for. If you think about terms such as stroke, if you do a keyword search for stroke, you're going to get lots of quite irrelevant results. For example, you'll get articles on swimming, perhaps swimming as therapy. You could perhaps get pet therapy, ankles, stroking dogs and animals, etc., as part of a therapeutic process. Using the mesh heading allows you to select the heading which is specific to your particular search, and that's why we've got far fewer when we searched using the subject headings.